ladies and gentlemen. It's me, Greg, and I am here to read some Torah. For one thing I want to say, I watched back the first episode of this, and I've already learned some things. The first one is I feel like I should be wearing a kippah for this. I don't usually wear one, but this feels like a very spiritual practice, and I feel like I should wear one. So I don't have one today, but next time I do this, I will bring a kippah and I will start wearing one because I think it just makes more sense. And the other thing I noticed is I think I might be interjecting a bit much with my own thoughts. And I think the reason I do that is because, you know, I read the thing and it sparks an idea and I want to discuss it. But I think sometimes it really breaks the flow of what the parsha or that particular sentence or that particular section is trying to say. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to just keep reading and then remember that thought I had and then pause less frequently. But you know what? This is an exploration and we're just kind of going with the flow. So I'm sure that this episode will also teach me quite a bit. So let's see where I stopped. I think I stopped. And the man assigned names to all the cattle and to the birds of the sky and every beast of the field. But as for man, he did not find a helper corresponding to him. Oh, wait, no, we already did this part. So we're at the part. Okay, so, all right. So I think the last sentence that I read was they were both naked, the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed. That is where we ended. Okay. So now we're... let's see here. We're number 3. I'm not entirely sure what that means. There's just these there's like a big number and then there's like a small number. This is a good rabbi question. Note that. Okay. So this part is all about the snake, which is kind of exciting because I've had a conversation with Rabbi Teller about this snake. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the snake has like legs and arms at this point. So I think that's just a lizard. I don't know. Let's read. Here we go. Now, the serpent was cunning beyond any beast of the field that Hashem God had made. He said to the woman, "Did perhaps God say, 'You shall not eat of any tree of the garden?'" And the woman said to the serpent, "Of the fruit of any tree of the garden we may eat. Of the fruit of the tree which is in the center of the garden, God has said, 'You shall neither eat it nor touch it, lest you die.'" And the serpent said to the woman, "You will not surely die, for God knows that on the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and bad." And the woman perceived that the tree was good for eating, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desirable as a means of wisdom. And she took of its fruit and ate. Wow, okay. I mean, it really didn't take all that much convincing. I feel like she was like, "But God said that I was going to die." And this thing's like, "You're not going to die." And she was like, "Well, when you put it like that, you do have a good point." And also like, I thought there was like more lead up to that. Like I thought that maybe the snake like enticed her like for a couple of different times. Like she passes by the tree and the snake is all like, "Hey, check out this fruit." I thought that there was like more to it, but it's like literally, you know, God's like, there they are. They're both naked and no shame. And then the next part, literally the next part, the snake's like, "Hey, you should try some of this fruit." And the woman's like, "All right." I don't know. Wow, no exposition. Look, there's a lot of history to go through. And I guess they were like, "All right, let's keep this thing moving. No time to waste." Okay, let's keep going. "And she gave also to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. And they sewed together a fig leaf and made themselves aprons. They heard the sound of Hashem God manifesting itself in the garden toward evening, and the man and his wife hid from Hashem God among the trees of the garden. Hashem God called out to the man and said to him, "Where are you?" He said, "I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I am naked, so I hid." A lie. And God knows that because he shouldn't be worried about being naked. And he said, "Who told you that you are naked? Have you eaten..." There he goes. "Have you eaten of the tree from which I commanded you not to eat?" And the man said, "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate." And Hashem God said to the woman, "What is this that you have done?" And the woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." And Hashem God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, accursed are you beyond all the cattle and beyond all beasts of the field. Upon your belly you shall go, and dust shall you eat all the days of your life. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will pound your head, and you will bite his heel." God's angry. Wow. Crawl on your belly. Which means that at that time the snake wasn't crawling on its belly. And I don't think it just eats dust. I think it eats all kinds of things. But I think this is where he was essentially saying, "And between your offspring and her offspring." Is this where he was like, "Hey, you're going to lay eggs now?" I don't quite understand that part. He doesn't seem happy. To the woman, he said, "I will greatly increase your suffering and your childbearing. In pain shall you bear children. Yet your craving shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you." Okay. Seems harsh. To Adam, he said, "Because you listened to the voice of your wife and ate of the tree about which I commanded you, saying, 'You shall not eat of it,' accursed is the ground because of you. Through suffering shall you eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles shall it sprout for you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. By the sweat of your brow shall you eat bread until you return to the ground from which you were taken, for you are dust, and to dust shall you return." Oh, that's epic. "For you are dust, and to dust shall you return." Oh, that's, wow. Powerful. God, Hashem, is a wordsmith. The man called his wife's name Eve because she had become the mother of all the living. Wow, wait, what? What an interesting time to name her. They didn't name her until right now. You'd think that when he made Eve, she would have gotten a name. But did he give Adam the power to give her a name? Or did he just call her Eve now? This is very interesting. And Hashem God made for Adam and his wife garments of skin, and he clothed them. And Hashem God said, "Behold, man has become like the unique one among us, knowing good and bad. And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever." So Hashem God banished him from the Garden of Eden to work the soil from which he was taken, and having driven out the man, he stationed at the east of the Garden of Eden the cherubim and the flame of the ever-turning sword to guard the way to the tree of life. Okay, so they are banished. But, I don't know. What's the punishment? The punishment is that now they know good and bad? That doesn't seem so bad. Unless there was no bad before, and now there's bad because they ate the fruit. But does that mean that there wouldn't have been bad, or that they just wouldn't have known that there was bad if they ate from the fruit? Interesting. Put a pin in that. We continue. This is the 4 section now. Cain and Abel. Now the man had known his wife Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, "I have acquired a man with Hashem," and additionally she bore his brother Abel. Abel became a shepherd, and Cain became a tiller of the ground. After a period of time, Cain brought an offering to Hashem of the fruit of the ground, and as for Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and from their choicest. Hashem turned to Abel and to his offering, but to Cain and his offering he did not turn. This annoyed Cain exceedingly, and his countenance fell. This annoyed? We're talking, the way this is written, he brought of the firstlings of his flock and from their choicest. Wow, just like such an interesting use of the English language. And then this annoyed Cain exceedingly. And Cain did not think that this was chill. And Hashem said to Cain, "Why are you annoyed? And why has your countenance fallen? Surely, if you improve yourself, you will be forgiven. But if you do not improve yourself, sin rests at the door. Its desire is toward you, yet you can conquer it." Cain spoke with his brother Abel. And it happened when they were in the field that Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. What? Wait. Wow, that's... Man, I thought Game of Thrones turned quickly, but in one sentence, we were just introduced Cain and Abel. We've had maybe a paragraph with the two brothers, and Abel already killed Cain. This book moves so quickly, and it's like so matter of fact. And so then Abel killed him. And then, of course, it jumps straight into the conversation. Oh, wait. And it happened when they were in the Cain rose up against Cain, spoke with his brother Abel. Hashem said to Cain, brother Abel, against his brother Abel, and killed him. Oh, so Cain killed Abel. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Hashem said to Cain, "Where is Abel your brother?" And he said, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" Then he said, "What have you done?" "The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Therefore you are cursed more than the ground, which opened wide its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. You shall become a vagrant and a wanderer on earth." Cain said to Hashem, "Is my iniquity too great to be borne? Behold, you have banished me this day from the face of the earth. Can I be hidden from your presence? I must become a vagrant and a wanderer on earth. Whoever meets me will kill me." Hashem said to him, "Well, therefore whoever slays Cain before 7 generations have passed, he will be punished." And Hashem placed a mark upon Cain, so that none that meet him might kill him. Cain left. Okay. That's interesting. So he was like, "Okay, you're out of here." But Cain was like, "Well, what if people kill me?" Which is a weird question to ask after having just killed your brother. And God is like, "Don't worry, no one's going to kill you," even though he's mad. Interesting. Cain left the presence of Hashem and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch. He became a city builder, and he called the name of the city after the name of his son, Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begot Mehujael, and Mehujael begot Methushael, and Methushael begot Lamech. Wow, those are fun names. Lamech took to himself 2 wives. The name of one was Adah, and the name of the second was Zillah. And Adah bore Jabal. He was the first of those who dwell in tents and breed cattle. The name of his brother was Jubal. Very similar. They were running out of names. I guess they didn't have Jessica and Kelsey back then, so they were like, "Well, all right, let's just There's like 6 people. We don't really have to worry about differentiating. He was the first of all who handled the harp and flute. He was the first of all who handled the harp and flute. Oh, cool. An artist. Love it. And Zillah, too, she bore Tubal-Cain, who sharpened all cutting implements of copper and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said to his wives, Adal and Zillah, hear my voice. Wives of Lamech, give ear to my speech. Have I slain a man by my wound and a child by my bruise? If Cain suffered vengeance at 7 generations, then Lamech at 27. Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son, and she called him Seth. Seth is a biblical name? I didn't know that. And she bore another son named Keith and Landon. Sorry. I just didn't know this. God has provided me with another child in place of Abel, for Cain had killed him. And as for Seth, to him also a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. Then to call in the name of Hashem became profane. Okay. There's a lot of world building here. A lot of different names. Am I supposed to remember all those names? We'll find out. Okay, so then looks like we're kind of switching gears a little bit here. Now, mind you, we haven't really read that much, and so much has happened. Okay, let's get through this section, and then we'll call it for today. This is the account of descendants of Adam. On the day that God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female. He blessed them and called their name man on the day they were created. When Adam had lived 130 years, he begot in his likeness and his image, and he named him Seth. And the days of Adam after begetting Seth were 800 years, and he begot sons and daughters. All the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. Seth lived 105 years and begot Enosh, and Seth lived 807 years after begetting Enosh, and he begot sons and daughters, and all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. Enosh lived 90 years and begot Kenan, and Enosh lived 815 years after begetting Kenan, and he begot sons and daughters, and all the days of Enosh were 905 years, and then he died. Kenan lived 70 years and begot Mahalalel, and Kenan lived 840 years after begetting Mahalalel, and he begot sons and daughters, and all the days of Kenan were 910 years, and he died. Mahalalel lived 65 years and begot Jared. It's so funny. These like very normal names pop up. Mahalalel lived 65 years and begot Jared, and then Mahalalel lived 830 years after begetting Jared, and he begot sons and daughters, and all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and then he died. Jared lived 162 years and begot Enoch. And Jared lived 800 years after begetting Enoch, and he begot sons and daughters, and all the days of Jared came to 962 years, and he died. Enoch lived 65 years and begot Methuselah. Enoch walked with God for 300 years after begetting Methuselah, and he begot sons and daughters, and all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with God, and then he was no more, for God had taken him. Wow. So, okay, let's end the reading for today, but there's so much to go through here. Like I'm definitely not going to go through each one of these people. But what was really interesting about this is all of the repetition, right? Like he went through all of the different people that lived and who they begot. First of all, noticing really we're only talking about sons here. Okay. Excuse me. But then at the very end, they go to the Enoch, and Enoch walked with God. And they say that twice. And that's the only different thing from all the other people, is that Enoch walked with God. And then he didn't die. Enoch walked with God, and then he was no more, for God had taken him. And that is the only time that they express death like that. Interesting. I have so many questions. This is wonderful. I'm actually really, really enjoying this. I hope you guys are too. I am legitimately excited to keep reading. It's definitely getting more dense. You know, like initially we were like, all right, you know, like I know the story at the beginning and all that stuff, but like now we're starting to get into some stuff. And man, this book really moves. You know, like it's definitely just like dot, 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 dot. And then Cain, there was Abel, boom. Abel's dead. Just Cain now. And then Cain went on to have like quite the life. Okay. This was good. Thank you for joining me for another show and teller Torah time. My name is Greg. Bye.